right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. What we hope will be a fun, educational, informative, and robust conversation as we discuss African American participation in baseball, or sometimes lack thereof, the Players Alliance, and everything that they're doing. So we hope this will be a wonderful conversation with some names you might be familiar with. And so rather than hear me blather on, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Jemele Hill. I'm currently a contributing writer. Hello, thank you. I'm currently a contributing writer for The Atlantic. I got about 62 other jobs. We ain't got that kind of time. So I will not bore you with the rest of those particular.
But make sure you subscribe to our podcast.
Yes.
Subscribe to our podcast.
No, I got an even more important one, Curtis. Make sure that you buy my book, which comes out in October. Even better. Also an LA resident, so very happy to be right in the center of things. So enough from me. Now I would like our wonderful, esteemed panelists to introduce themselves. And at the end of your introduction of yourself and whatever you want to say about your career, you have to tell us who you think will win tomorrow's All-Star game. Okay? So let's start with you, Curtis.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you, Jemele. My name is Curtis Granderson, three-time All-Star, recently retired MLB player. Thank you. I now serve as the chair of the board for the Players Alliance, and my pick for tomorrow's game, I'm going to go with the American League. I mean, Aaron Judge is doing his thing. I'm going with the American League.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Edwin Jackson. I'm a founder of the Players Alliance and also the secretary. 17 seasons in the MLB, one-time All-Star, everything else. Tomorrow, my pick, you said American, I'm going to go national. I mean, I done played for about half of the teams already.
No. Don't y'all be clapping. No.
What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. I'm Cece Sabathia, six-time All-Star, played 19 years. And my pick, I played in the American League for so long, I got to go with the American League.
That's what we're talking about. Now, wait, you got to be on the spot, too. Who you got?
Oh, I'm a Tigers fan. And by the way, CC, you're the only player up here who did not play for Detroit, right?
Yeah.
You're the only one. So I'm going to go with the American League as well, because those are my roots. So sorry. I'm not endearing myself to my new hometown here, that's for sure. I want to start with each of you just kind of going over the Players Alliance itself. Like you all are a part of a special organization. There might not be people who are totally familiar with everything that you all do. So just sort of explain why you thought it was important for this alliance to be formed and what the mission is.
So the Players Alliance was formed in 2020 on the heels of everything that happened with George Floyd. We were all sitting at home in the middle of the pandemic, couldn't go anywhere, but everybody in the entire world saw that unfortunate event. Collectively, 150 former and current ball players came together and said we have to do more. One of our founders right here, Edwin Jackson, who knows everybody because he's played with the world record number of major league teams, reached out and said, let's come together and do more. And with that, we were able to form the Players Alliance in 2020. That same fall, we kicked off a 33-city cross-country tour where we handed out COVID supplies, baseball equipment, and food to food-insecure communities in all the different major league cities and communities that we call home and that we play in. From that in 2020, we've now spearheaded. We just recently had a camp earlier today with 100 kids from the inner city that look like us to introduce them to different challenges they may face, but also motivate them to keep going. Case in point, Adam Jones, All-Star, was talking with a kid out there. A kid his parents told him yesterday he was about to quit baseball. Because of the help of the Players Alliance and all these great mentors, we got another kid still continuing to play this great game.
To add on what Curtis said, I think another big reason the Players Alliance was formed also because as black players in the game, we don't have a platform to use our voice without worrying about being backlash, not making the team, getting sent down to AAA. With the events of George Floyd, we had to let the world know that we are aware of what's going on in the world, and we do have a voice, and we do feel some kind of way about what's going on in our communities. I think baseball is looked at as, the minority sport for black players. You know, you have football, you can say whatever you want on social media. Basketball can say whatever they want, and I feel like baseball get looked at as like, where you guys at? You know, so the Players Alliance allowed us to really have a platform to use our voice to the community to let them know that we are with them and we still a part of the community.
And I think also, I think individually we all did things. We all had our organizations. Curtis has his foundation, EJ, myself, all of us. But together, you can see us, making a difference, a huge difference. And I think we're going to be stronger together. I think, this organization was formed out of friendship through baseball. I mean, all the guys that are in this organization, we've been friends for over 20 years now. So for us to be able to use our friendship to impact the game in a positive way, it's great to be a part of it.
So y'all like the Avengers of black baseball players. I won't ask who Thor is. So Curtis, you mentioned something really important. You talked about how you mentored a kid just today who was about to quit, and you all were able to kind of reverse how he felt about baseball. I want each of you, and I'll start with you, CC, to talk about what you felt like in your career as a young person were the most important factors in keeping you in baseball.
I think the most important factors of keeping me in baseball when I was young is a lot of my friends played. It was a sport, when I grew up in the inner city in Vallejo, it was a sport that we all played. So it was like pressure to play. You know what I mean? And in my community, it was good on the weekends because everybody came out. Everybody's parents was out at the park. Everybody was barbecuing. So every weekend was a party at the baseball park. So that's all I ever knew. I thought every place was like that. You know what I mean? So that's what kept me going, was that the love of the game and like I said earlier, the friendships and the fellowship is what I always loved about the game.
For me, it's kind of the same thing with CC. I grew up in a sports family. My mom, softball, my dad, baseball, basketball, so I was always around sports. And with my dad being my idol, I wanted to follow his footsteps. He never made it professionally, but he was pretty good where he was playing back in the country. He's from Alabama, so they playing country ball, but everybody like, boy, your daddy this and your daddy that. So we have the same name. I'm a junior. I wanted to make my own lane, create my own lane, but still under the same name that he given me, and represent for the family name.
For me, baseball was fun. I saw players on TV, on video games that had their own baseball cards, and I wanted to be like that. Like both of them up here, my friends were doing it. We were always emulating who we saw. Every time we stepped on the field, I want to be Ken Griffey Jr. I want to be Ozzie Smith. I mean, the reason why I swing a black baseball bat is because of Ken Griffey Jr. There's no other reason behind it. I don't know if it works or not, but he did it. I was going to do it. That's the reason why I do it. So when I got a chance to see that, that was what kept me playing.
Now, we know that there's a lot of factors and barriers that prevent kids from either playing or they just kind of lose interest. What do you think, Edwin, is the disconnect with today's youth, today's black youth, when it comes to baseball?
I think it's multiple things. I think, first of all, they have to see us. You can't be what you don't see. Everybody wanted to be Michael Jordan because we saw Michael Jordan on TV. We have to promote our black players. The only way, you have to see it. And secondly, they have to know that it's cool. They have to see guys like us going into the communities that talk like them, look like them. I know I have locks. These kids out here everybody have locks nowadays. All the kids, they need to see somebody that they can relate to. They can hear from their parents. We can send all the money we want to. We can give all the equipment we want to. But if we don't go talk to them personally, hands-on, it's not as monumental. It's not as inspirational to them to see myself or Curtis or Cece and be like, I can be him. He looked like me. He talked like me. He a cool dude. So we definitely got to bring the cool factor back to baseball. Let them know that this is an avenue that they have.
Y'all just need to say guaranteed money. That really should be.
Hey, we on the heels of some big contracts. CeCe think a big one about to happen. What's CeCe's prediction on the Soto contract?
Man, I think he's going to get $500 million, man.
Hey, if that's not motivation to play baseball, I don't know what is. I'm not sure what drives you, but I think that can do it.
Well, Curtis, and what are your thoughts on that, what Edwin said? What do you see as factors as to why it seems like today's black youth feels very disconnected from the sport?
Again, promotion is key. Whatever you see out there, that's what you're going to want to watch, no matter what the driving factor happens to be. I remember CeCe's telling a story one time. You guys remember CeCe in the Subway commercials? And correct me if I'm wrong on this. As you can see, CeCe has tattoos on his arms. They told CeCe he was supposed to wear long sleeves because they didn't want the tattoos visible. That's CeCe. How many people have tattoos in this audience right now? So if you see someone like that, go, wow, he has tattoos like me. Well, he looks like me. He pitches like me. He's left-handed like me. There's ways to connect. And he told them flat out.
Oh, yeah, I'm wearing my tattoos.
Y'all not going to Allen Iverson me, right?
And that was always why I never lost weight, too. This is me. Like, it is what it is. What you see is what you get.
Now we're a day removed from the Major League Baseball draft. 4 of the top 5 players that win in the draft were black. And I don't think that's ever happened in history. Curtis, I'll start with you. What does that say about where the game is right now when it comes to black baseball players?
It's amazing. I'm going to be sure on this 'cause I know Cece knows a lot about this area. But it also shows that there is a lot of kids that are playing this game, and very talented kids. And as long as it's accessible and they have the ability to improve at it, you see the results. And Cece works for MLB right now, and he can speak on some of the programs they've been doing and have shown this and what we look to do to continue to amplify that and grow it.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I was playing, I was subscribing to the notion that kids weren't playing the game. But we got to get them the opportunities. I think this crop of players that you see right now is a direct connection to the Eric Davises, the Jerry Manuels, the Pat Mahomes, the whole YDF, Tony Regans and Dale Matthews, what they're putting together down at Vero Beach at Jackie Robinson Complex was a direct connection on the board yesterday. And, I think for us, we don't we want to expand on what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like if they got 200 kids coming to a camp, let's get 500 kids because the kids need the opportunities and they're playing the game at a high clip and they're really good. 4 out of 5, 4 out of the top 5 draft picks, we're black kids that came through, MLB programs and are direct descendants of these guys that we look up to. So it's just keeping it all in the family again. And I think, like I said, I think the Players Alliance, our mission is just to expand on, what's already happening.
Edwin, what are your thoughts on what it means?
I think it's an indication of exactly what we're trying to do and not lose our athletes to other sports. These guys, they're getting drafted. They premier athletes. I'm sure they could play another sport if they wanted to. And that's what we're trying to promote with the Players Alliance, that you can be an athlete and still play baseball, be successful as well. And I think that draft today is a start of where we're trying to head in the right direction of where we want to get with our black athletes.
You all, there were some tough conversations that were had in 2020. As you mentioned, after George Floyd, it inspired you all to start this group and start this alliance with each other. How do you handle the criticism that you may receive? I'm not saying they're genuine voices, but people who say, well, what does baseball have to do with race? Why are you guys bringing racial issues into baseball? Curtis, I'll start with you, but I want all of you guys' opinions. Like, how do you handle kind of the other side of people looking at, well, will this be divisive? Like, how do you address those kind of concerns?
It's interesting you bring that point up. I learned something today. We're always learning things. As we brought our kids out today, our interim executive director taught us today that a lot of our kids between the ages of 10, 11, 12, 13 hear the N-word for the first time on a baseball field. Think about that. On a baseball field, the place that's America's pastime, that we're all excited to go out to tonight for the Home Run Derby, tomorrow for the All-Star Game. This is sometimes where some of these kids are facing some of these derogative comments. So these are some of the challenges that we're having. We're not trying to make it divisive. We're trying to make it inclusive, make sure that if you want to play it, even if there's someone out there that doesn't look like me, it's welcoming. And I want to be out there. I want to know that I can go out there and be with some of them. For a long time, I was the only person that looked like me on my teams. Little League, high school, college, pro ball. Until Edwin and I got together in Detroit, that's when I finally started having more players that looked like me. But the reason I was still able to stick around is I was lucky and fortunate enough to have teammates and coaches that treated me like them. So as long as we could start to instill that, and when I ran into challenges, I had support to keep me from running away, that kept me in. But it's going to be a challenge. But this is what we're here for, is the Players Alliance. So if you do run into those situations, which we know unfortunately is going to happen, you can lean on us. Imagine getting advice from the player who's played with the most teams, from a future Hall of Famer. That would be somebody in motivation enough to continue to stay in this game no matter any adversity. And they can tell you a story that they've been through.
And to your point, Colin Kaepernick said the same thing, because he was a baseball player in high school and in his youth, and that's where he first was called a racial slur. To get back to what Curtis just said, Edwin, how did you handle it as a young player coming up when you heard these slurs and were in these hostile racial environments?
That's a good question, because for me, I'm from Georgia. And if anybody has been in the South, they know racism is real. You can feel it when you walk into the environment. Unfortunately, I've been having these conversations since high school. I've been having conversations. We go into this school, be prepared for what you may hear. But like I say, this is the time where it's time to be comfortable being uncomfortable. These conversations aren't comfortable. When you having conversations with different people of different races, you hear these comments, and I tell people this is exactly what we're fighting for, because we got to listen to comments like these, and unless you can relate to it, you cannot feel. I can sit here and tell a white friend of mine, and I have a lot of white friends, but they can't relate to what I go through because they aren't me and they aren't black. So they can only hear what I say and only feel it through what I'm telling them. But this is what we're comfortable in our skin. This is a time for us to be strong. If there ever was a time, we have a special chance. We have a chance to do something very special, and we're ready. We're ready for it.
So as a young player, CC, how did you handle being in these different environments?
It was hard for me because I was the opposite. I was always on a team full of black kids, you know. So like when I got the pro ball, then that was the shot, you know. So as I got going up and up and up the line, it's less and less and less, and I'm more and more uncomfortable. I'm 20 years old, 19 years old. The next youngest person on the team is 27. So like, first of all, I don't have anything in common. Because we don't, you know, like, there's not another black person on the team, and then I'm not even close in age with anybody. So it was really, really hard for me. You know, it was the Jock Joneses. You know, Milton Bradley got traded over to Cleveland, and we got super close. But it was me just finding, you know, little ways to feel comfortable and have people to relate to. But it was really, really difficult for me my first 3 or 4 years in the league. You know, just finding my way, honestly.
Was it isolating for you to be in that situation?
It was super isolating. Only time I felt comfortable was on the field. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you have to work through those things. And like I said, I mean, it was just a super shell shock to me because I thought that, you know, every little black kid in America was playing baseball. You know what I'm saying? In the 80s and 90s, and that wasn't the case as I got up, you know, higher and higher.
The worst part of that, not to cut you off, Jemele, the worst part of that is when you're in a clubhouse, like CC said, you don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
So everything you're going through, you have to hold it in and bottle it up and figure out a way how to release it.
I don't think most people, because they obviously haven't been in a clubhouse, but what I noticed as a young reporter going in these clubhouses, how segregated they were, right? All the Latino players are right there. If they have some black players, they're right there. All the white players are right there. I don't know what that says about, you know, how teams are formed when you apparently have that much social segregation within your own team.
It's interesting to see. If you ever get a chance to come to spring training, you could kind of see it. Watch a stretch out there, especially if the team gets in a circle and stretch. It goes the white players, the Latin players, the Asian players, the black players. It's just, unfortunately, that's how it is. But as you start to come together, those teams that end up winning, you start seeing them all together. You hear the word chemistry. It's those teams that can come together. Doesn't matter what part of the world you're from. And that goes a long way, even all the way to T-ball, even to your schools and your neighborhoods. Those teams that can connect. You look at certain players, for example, trying to think who it is. There's one player, I can't think his name, but he's prided himself on wanting to learn Spanish. So he can be able to speak with his Spanish-speaking teammates. That's a very welcoming trait. If you're willing to take that effort to do it on your end, I'm going to try my best to speak English on your end. Same thing with the food, same thing with the culture, same thing with the dress. You know how many people probably come up to Edwin and go, "Can I touch your hair?" and see that and look at it different? But if I ask a question about it, oh, okay, how does this happen? That's a welcoming scenario, and all of a sudden you start to build those bonds. So unfortunately it happens, but there's ways that it can start to become a connecting factor in a big way.
Although the answer to "can I touch your hair" is always hell no. Speaking as a black woman, that answer's no.
That's what I tell my daughter.
You're right.
Don't let nobody touch your hair.
Don't let nobody touch your hair. Let's talk about the current state of baseball right now as it relates to African-American players. About 7%. What do you all, and Curtis, I'll start with you again. What does that number say to you?
I just think of 75 years ago, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. He was the first one to allow all of us to get a chance to play, and not just black players, Latin players, Asian players, anybody from around the world to play this game. And if he were alive today to see it, would he be disappointed? I don't know if that's the right way, because the game is as diverse as ever. But seeing the lack of representation of African Americans would be a question mark to go, why is that happening? And there's a lot of challenges that we're running into, but one of the biggest things is, you look at the coaches, you look at the staff, you look at the members, you look at the trainers, you look at everybody in there, there's just fewer and fewer. Think of the on-field coaches. We finally had our first female on-field coach last year. Our first female coach on-field last year. So let alone we don't have any black female coaches on the field. I had one of the first female trainers in all of baseball with the Toronto Blue Jays. She was white. There's not any black females that are trainers in this game. So you start looking at it and going, all right, if we can get a couple of those in, now all of a sudden we have people that can relate to everybody, and it makes everybody comfortable to continue to keep moving forward.
And we only have one manager, right? It's only one,
Yep.
two.
Two, Dusty and
Dusty and
Doc.
Dave
Yeah,
Roberts.
yeah. So I mean, and even we talk about all these kids getting drafted right now, but they're going into organizations where there may be only one person that looks like them. You know what I mean? So we need to integrate. We need to get more integration in the organizations, top to bottom, so that when we came up, we felt comfortable. There were people in the organization that could help us and guide us, and other players that could guide us to get to the big leagues. It's not that anymore because the organizations don't have a lot of representation.
And to go on that, Kenny Williams, the president for the Chicago White Sox, he spoke at a general managers meeting, and he said, look, I've been coming to these meetings for 25 years, and we keep talking about diversity. And as I stand here today in 2021, right before the lockout, it was just him and Mike Hill, the only two people of color in there. Kim Ng of the Miami Marlins was the only female in there. Now, what he did say, which was key, I'm not saying that all of you in this room don't belong, because you're well-deserving. But you definitely have to bring more of us in because we also belong and are deserving as well. So that's what we're saying. Everyone that's in there, you deserve a spot in there. But you can't say that there are other kids out there that don't deserve spots in there. We just saw it this year in the draft. 4 out of the first 5, 9 out of the first 30. There are deserving individuals that are welcome to play in this game.
For me, I see a red flag. I see that as an issue. It's a major issue that we can't run away from, and we have to attack it right now, which is another thing why we do this. And I think it starts with players, because I feel like it's our responsibility as a black baseball player to go talk to a kid about baseball that look like us. It's something that we have to attack, and there are numerous things being done, but we just have to figure out the right formulation, the right formula to really go out and get to these kids and let them know that baseball is here. You know, it's not a lost sport. It's not that we reintroducing the game to them, because I feel like it's a game that's been played forever. If you look at Life, the movie, I know it's a comedy, but it's a real depiction of blacks in baseball. You know, if you look at the series,
And get right.
it's there. Get right. Jangle, you know. But I think no, it's just something that now is the time for us to really step up and fix this issue.
All right, you all are doing your part clearly with this alliance, and just in how you live your lives. Edwin, what is the responsibility of white people with this issue?
That's a good question. First of all, it take a conversation. When I go back to that getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, it's an uncomfortable conversation, because the first question we always get is, how can we help? How can we help? How can we help? I think it starts by helping. When you hear somebody say something about one of your friends that's black and you don't like it, check that person right there. Nip it in the bud. It doesn't matter if it's family, if it's friends, whoever it is, nip whatever it is in the bud, because that's going to show solidarity to your teammate, which we brothers, we in the clubhouse more than we with our families. But I think that's a great start where it is.
Yeah, now for me, it's just listening. You know, I remember, but I used to get pulled over a lot when I first got to New York. No, seriously, like driving to the stadium, I get pulled over, and I just come in pissed off all the time. And Brett Gardner used to be like, bro, what's wrong with you? He's like, I'd be like, dog, I just got pulled over again. You can't believe it. Like, and he didn't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he couldn't understand that I was only getting pulled over. He was like, nah, you had to be speeding, or did you go through the light? I'm like, bro, I'm trying to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had these conversations twice a month until he finally like got it. Like, oh, okay, like I get it. So it's more of them like understanding and listening to. Like, that happens, yes. Like, oh, like they always like to say, no, that didn't happen. Yes, it did. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just listening.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Like I said, Brett Gardner hadn't seen it, so to him, it's foreign. But if your teammate is telling you and is emotional about it, telling you it, okay, let me side with you. I may not understand, but I know you're in pain right now. So how can I be of help and assistance to you? That's a big way to do it. Even if you don't know the situation, even if you didn't grow up that way, even if you don't think it doesn't happen, it's happened. It happens more than you think. So just be listening, be comfort, and say, how can I help? How can I be of assistance to you?
Yeah, well, even on a broader scale, just beyond your teammates, within organizations, I know you all partner with Major League Baseball on a lot of things, but what is the responsibility of white team owners and those who are in decision-making capacities to help turn that 6.8% into double or even higher than that?
You have to know your players. You have to come talk to your players in the clubhouse. It's been many times I've been on teams. You don't talk to so you can't understand what I'm going through if you don't have a conversation with me. You can sit and you think about it. You can sit and you can look and you can think what I may feel, but if you don't talk to me about it, if you don't open that door, like anything you got, let's talk about it. It take a real conversation between two men and a real conversation, an uncomfortable conversation. But if it's not talked about, how can they know what we're thinking? How can they know how to help a situation they have no clue about, because they can't feel what we feel. Nobody can feel what we feel unless you like us and you're going through it. So if you don't talk to us, you don't know.
I think it's a huge responsibility. I think the amount of money that we spend in the DR, we can definitely spend the same amount of money here to get the access to the black kids and, in the Deep South that we're doing with the Players Alliance. So I think it's a huge responsibility. I think, for me, sometimes I feel like they spend so much money in the DR to kind of keep us out of the game, So I think, it's up to us to change that narrative.
Do they do that because of economics too?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, big part of it. So what do you guys see as the next breakthrough that has to happen for us to even make even deeper progress than already has been made? We, again, talked about the draft and seeing 4 of the first 5 black players be selected and what that meant. What's got to be some more breakthroughs that need to occur in order to get higher participation of black players in the game?
We're talking about participation. Promotion, I think, is key. Marketing runs the world. I mean, the reason you eat, drink, sleep, and live where you live is probably something you've seen on TV. So if you get a chance to see these players and get a chance to be like, wow, that's really cool, that is awesome, incorporate them in some of the commercials. How many of you have seen the Allstate commercials?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Have you seen any baseball players in any of those Allstate commercials? You've seen basketball, you've seen football. Wouldn't it be cool to have Mookie Betts, LA Dodgers own, in one of those commercials? He seems cool. He seems likable, right? He can make you laugh. Imagine him dunking a basketball on somebody and saying, you got Allstate, That'd be a pretty cool commercial, and now all of a sudden I'm interested in it. So there's little things like that without changing the game, using all these big corporate sponsors that we have, but incorporating our all-stars. Get them into the game, and not just the black players. Shohei Ohtani, one of the most popular players in the game. If he's in there, imagine the popularity that everybody can see. I pitch, I hit, he does that. I want to see him do that. I like stuff he's doing. That gives me an opportunity to continue to keep doing more in it.
The NBA does a great job of using their sponsors and putting their players in those spots. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, why is Josh Chisholm not riding on a John Deere doing you know what I'm saying? Using our sponsors, using our players, and showing their personality. So I think the NBA has it. They did an incredible job of leveraging their sponsors and using their players in their ads.
Yeah, I mean, the visibility that baseball players don't have is kind of alarming. I've said this before about Mike Trout. Mike Trout could walk down the street, and I would guess 75% of the people would not realize it was him. Maybe not here in L.A., but in other places that might be the case. So it's a matter of getting that visibility a little higher.
And I think it's harder for our generation to be on social media. We know how hard the game is. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for us to promote ourselves. It's easier for basketball players and football players to promote themselves. You're going to score your 20 points. You're going to go out.
Why
you know what I'm saying?
But why is that,
Because
though?
Mike Trout can go 0 for 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, he posts a picture on Instagram, and now he ain't got
so
a
he
hit
can't
in
show
3
himself
weeks.
grounding out
You
the
know what I'm
third.
saying? So I think these kids now have a better grasp of how to use social media and still play their career. I think for us, it was just always that stay humble. You know what I mean? And baseball is a failure sport. So it's hard to put yourself out there when you're gonna fail 90% of the time.
So it's one of the unwritten rules of baseball: don't use social media.
No, I mean I just think with the older guys, we just got nervous. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I'm not putting a picture out there, and then I'm gonna go out and give up 7 runs.
Not in New York. Not in New York. We're not doing that.
So beyond just visibility, what other things, and Edwin, I'll go to you, what other things do you think kind of have to happen over the course of maybe the next 10 or 15 years to get this issue in a healthier place so we're not back here 10 years from now discussing the same thing?
I think a thing is, as we catch these kids at a young age, bring them out and let them experience what it feels like to be at a major league stadium. What it feels like to watch BP, what it feels like to touch the grass, look around, and you seeing 45,000 seats around you. You live a dream, but when you can experience piece of a dream, you can dream bigger. You're like, man, I can dream to be here. I remember Curtis and CC, EJ, the Players Alliance brought us out to this same field, and now I'm on this field pitching, or I'm on this field hitting. That sticks in their memory. We have to embed that memory in them and of what it feels like to be in this platform and have all this around us, because all these kids like attention. They have social media for attention. You know what I'm saying? And there's no other attention than when you on the field and you watching 45,000 people watching you play. So if we bring them and let them feel what it feels like, then that may be a help people want to play more.
Now, even though the Players Alliance is just in its infancy, you guys have been able to do a lot and make a lot of positive contribution. Curtis, can you speak to some of the things you guys have already been able to accomplish with this alliance?
So we talked about our 33-city tour and the number of families and communities we were able to help out with. Most recently, we've also partnered with a group in Atlanta, Georgia, which also helped build players such as Jason Hayward and Dexter Fowler. But in that program, outside of just building major leaguers, players that have gone through their program have now become trainers. They're able to afford and take care of themselves. There's multiple kids coming through this program, hundreds of kids that are going to have careers, not just in baseball, but in life. Some are going to be the first in their family to go to college because of these programs. We've also helped teams in the Deep South, in the Mississippi Delta, where my family's from, some of the poorest communities in the U.S. Teams that don't have numbers on the back of their jerseys. Their parents are having to take pieces of paper, write the number on it, and take safety pins, put it on the back of their jersey so they each have numbers. We're helping out in these communities because they need to have opportunities too. It's not just in the cities where the teams are, it's in all the cities in the country as long as we make it accessible. And these are just a few of the things, and we have some more things coming. In terms of diversity, CC Sabathia's wife is one of the first female agents in Major League Baseball, a black female at that. We're also just We're looking to create a pipeline for that opportunity in it. Think about this. Any male in this room, how many times have you had to lean on your significant other, your wife, your mom, your sister, for what are we doing for dinner tonight? Where are we going? Mama and wives and sisters all make a lot of decisions. They should also be key decision makers when it comes to your contract, especially if we're talking about $500 million. I can lean on my mom and my sister for that. I think I'll trust them to help me make a good decision in that. So these are other avenues that we're also looking to do.
And I think they would probably love that responsibility as well. Edwin, as you look forward and think about those accomplishments and the positives that you guys have already been able to do, for this audience to know, how are the best ways that we can support the Players Alliance?
Oh, we have numerous ways. We have a website. You can go on the website. You can donate to the website. We have a lot of people. We're gonna have this Players Alliance. This symbol, we're gonna have it everywhere. It's gonna be known by the world. You know, we plan on having this symbol by the world. But our website, you can go on. You can donate to the Players Alliance. We have our email, playersalliance.org. Right, Margaret? PlayersAlliance.org.
We're on social media too. Check us out on
social media, Players Alliance, yes. But we love our allies. I want people to not get this misconstrued. This is not only a black organization. This organization is open to the world. You know, we have allies. When we go into clubhouses, we have brothers from another mother, all different ethnicities. You know, this isn't just a black thing. This is a us thing, and we need everyone's help to, you know, whoever's dedicated and whoever feels passionate in this area, we need everyone's help to help this move along.
Case in point with that real quick, Dodgers' own Clayton Kershaw came out when we went to his hometown in Dallas, Texas, in the middle of a snowstorm. Clayton Kershaw was helping us hand out COVID supplies, baseball equipment, and food to those in need in the middle of COVID. So if Clayton Kershaw is not one of your favorite players, that should be one more reason why you to continue to cheer for him out there. A big supporter of the Players Alliance.
I don't know if you heard this, but him and Matt Stafford went to the same high school.
Yeah.
I'm joking because they always say that all the time. I feel the obligatory.
Scotty Scheffler too now.
You're right. You're right. I feel the obligatory need to add Matt Stafford to it. Before I ask CC a final question, I just wanted to let our audience know that we will be taking questions from you all for about 10 minutes. So start thinking of a question right now. We have. Where's the stage? Microphone? Yes. We'll have someone who'll come around with a microphone so that you guys can get whatever question you have to ask these legends. So, CeCe, we've talked about, some of the systemic things that need to happen to get more black baseball players involved in the game, more youth in particular. So now when you talk to young baseball players, what are the things that you tell them they should be working on right now?
I just tell them, to enjoy the game, love the game. You know what's crazy is that we're talking about getting, players to participate, but I always tell players to play other sports. We all played other sports growing up. and it makes you a better baseball player. It makes you understand that baseball is this great sport, that you have this brotherhood. You can play for a long time. You can get guaranteed money. You're not going to be banged up when you're done playing. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's good to be a well-rounded athlete, and you bring that back to the baseball diamond, and it just makes you a better player. So, you know, for me, I just want to make sure that we're getting kids from 12 to 14, making sure we're keeping them engaged. But other than that, be an athlete, have fun, and just enjoy being around your friends.
What about you two? What are you guys telling young players?
Enjoy it, embrace it. Don't forget who paved the way for you. There's always history in this game, and there's ways to learn. I mean, you're not here because of this. I mean, there's people that came before you. So understanding that history, and also that people are looking up towards you. People are wearing their uniform because of the way you wear it. People are picking their number because of the way you wear it. People are picking the color of their bat. How you do it. The song that you come up to bat to, all those different things, they're watching you just as much as you used to watch the generation before you.
Very important stuff to know. So you all have questions? I know some of you do. Oh, we got a couple. Yeah, but I thought she was after. I thought she was after the Q&A. Yeah, she's after. Okay.
Come on.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Here.
We here.
We adapt and adjust as baseball
Yes.
players. You know, when it rains, we don't just go home, so we just adjust. So we brought in another player we just called up.
Yes. Karen, introduce
plays
yourself
interview.
and what you do. Karen, introduce yourself. And
Hi,
what you
I'm Karen Morris with the Rangers Baseball Foundation, and I oversee all of our community projects. Most importantly, and to my heart, I oversee our youth academy. And we've been in this space since about 2015, but really early 2000s. This year alone, we had 31 kids signed to play baseball and softball in college next year, all for the most part first-generation athletes. But what they're doing augments and supports what we're doing in so many ways and makes such a difference. We've got Academy kids here. I think there's some Academy kids in the room somewhere. I'm not sure where they are, but I think our Commissioner's Cup is here. Oh, right there. There's some. There we go. And what they're doing and the voices, I can speak from a club perspective. When a young player sees a player that looks like them, that's gone through the things that they've gone through, it makes such an impact on what they're doing. But I listened to what you said about diversifying the front office, and I have to hit on that because we did a horrible job. And I'll be honest about that. Charlie Pride was one of our owners, and Charlie was so proud of the fact that he was in the Negro Leagues. Charlie was so proud of the fact that he was in the Country Music Hall of Fame. But the thing that made him the most proud was his card that said owner, Texas Rangers. Except we do the dog and pony show of like, here's what we're doing in the organization, and he and Rosine were the only black people in the room. And so he made us promise and make a commitment to change that. So we established the Charlie Pride Fellows program in his honor, where we bring in 5 people of color in our front office every summer. And 3 of those 5 from last year are now in professional sports, including one in our front office. So it has to start somewhere.
Congrats to that. That's dope.
All right, guys. I saw some people who had questions, so raise your hand, and this young gentleman will get to you with your question.
My question's for Cece. Cece, even though I'm not black, I'm Hispanic, and I grew up a heavyset kid. And you know how you talked about looking up just people who, you know, look like you. You know, you were a big part of, you know, of me becoming a baseball fan. And my question to you was, when you went to the Brewers, even though that was your contract year, why did you play so hard? When, you know, you see players now, you know, they kind of, you know, it gets kind of dicey when it comes to, you know, their contracts. And yeah, that was my question. And thank you.
Oh, no problem, man. I appreciate that because I never wanted to, like we talked about, I always wanted to just be myself. I wore my uniform big. I'm a big guy. I wore my hat to the side. And, you know, I appreciate you, you know, recognizing that. For me, when I went to Milwaukee, the honest question is I was hurt I was devastated when I got traded from Cleveland. But I walked into the clubhouse in Milwaukee, and the first person I saw was Prince Fielder. Gave me a big hug, and then I seen Billy Hall, and then it was Ricky Weeks, and then Mike Cameron. And I was like, oh, this is going to be lit. And I was feeling good. I was 28 years old. I was healthy, and I didn't want the season to end. Like, I knew what was coming up on the other side of it. And if anybody knows my story, I never wanted to go to New York. So, I just wanted that 2008 season to go as long as possible. And I was just enjoying all the guys that I was around. So it was really just the inspiration of seeing those guys and being in the clubhouse with basically a room full of black players. And I felt like I was 10 years old again. So that was really the best stretch I ever had in my career. It was because of who I was playing with.
All right. We have a question right here.
Hi guys, big fans of all you. I was just curious. I know you guys have played for multiple teams, different stadiums, all that stuff. I just want to know who are the teams that you guys like to play against the most. Like rivals, fans of the stadiums and some stuff like that.
And when you play for 92 teams, you should answer that.
I play
Every
for
rivalry.
half of the league. Honestly, man, I'm a pitcher, so any field that was pitcher friendly was my friend. Any field that the wind blew in all the time was my friend. But honestly, man, starting my career here in LA, I couldn't have done it any differently. I mean, I'm catching 2003 Giant Dodger games, and it may be bad now, but I feel like it might have been worse then. So I get a chance to come up in this hostile environment and also be successful. I think it prepared me for the rest of my career because Dodger fans are some of the best fans in the game, if not the best. And they don't play when it comes to the Dodger Giant games. There's no games being played.
For me, it was anytime I got a chance to go to my hometown, Chicago. Whether it was the Cubs or the White Sox. Just anytime going home, friends, family, I always had one little section cheering for me. And I got my first major league hit in Chicago in my hometown. And they didn't have to do this. I was playing for the Tigers, but they put it on the scoreboard. It said, Curtis Granderson, first major league hit. And they didn't have to do that. So anytime I go home, that was always special for me.
It was always whoever was good. I want to beat the best team. So early in my career, it was Minnesota. Anytime I was playing against Minnesota, I'm going out there to complete the game. When I got to New York, it was Boston, and then it became Tampa. So it was just always about the competition, and whoever was the best is who I'm going to beat.
Okay, next question.
Hi. I got two questions, a hard question and an easy question. I'm going to save the easy question for the end. I'm going to ask Edwin at the end of this to recount your 20th birthday for us. Tell us all about that 20th birthday experience. Okay, but first, the tough question. You guys have each been talking about specific ways that you can engage black youth into involvement with baseball and things like this in a whole lot of ways. But I haven't heard one thing about what I think is the main program that I'm aware of, RBI. Reviving baseball in inner cities. None of you have talked about that. And now that I understand it's 30 years old, how does this sit and how is it infected? How has each one of you been involved with that program?
For those that aren't familiar with the RBI program, from the club side, I can help answer that. So 30 years ago, Major League Baseball developed the Reviving Baseball in Inner Cities program to give the opportunity to play recreational baseball for kids ages 7 to 18. They started off with senior RBI. Now they have a junior RBI program as well. RBI is not exclusive to club cities, so there are teams in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There's teams in Mississippi. There's teams all over. I say that, and a lot of the RBI teams are run exceptionally well. A lot of clubs run their RBI leagues, and obviously we champion the diversity on those programs. Our academy runs our RBI league. I would say what I think the Players Alliance is here to give kids those opportunities and give them that exposure and give them that real life advice. And then they can't do it by themselves. So I think what you see the RBI leagues and the team doing is coming alongside them and supporting them. So that if that young man or young woman wants to play baseball or play softball, RBI can be an avenue for them to do that. But then we also want the Players Alliance to hold us accountable to make sure that we are following up and making sure we're providing these kids with the best instruction, good coaches, good equipment, good opportunities. So I think it's a relationship and how they work together, because it's absolutely a part of the solution, but it can't be it in itself.
And on top of that, RBI is a title of a program, but there's a lot of those things that we've already been doing. When CC and I were teammates in New York, we put together a league where we funded and brought kids out to play all year long. It just wasn't called RBI, so not a lot of people heard about it. But we were able to do that. CC had his team, my team had her team. We got a chance to meet with them. Edwin's been doing that. So a lot of players have been doing that. It's just not under the RBI umbrella. A lot of our Player Alliance players that are here right now are coaching teams, training players, introducing players to the game. We have young players sitting right here in the audience right now. So it's happening. We're just trying to continue to keep growing that side of it.
Yeah, and Dom Smith and J.P. Crawford have an organization in here in L.A. called Baseball Generations that operates like RBI, but, it's not under the umbrella RBI. And they had all the guys that were on the board that were drafted yesterday were all in their All-American game. So the Jazz Chisholms, the Jack Flahertys, all these guys are mingling with Tamar Johnson and Elijah Green and Justin Crawford. So this younger generation is already ahead of what we were doing. they're already making an impact and getting to know these kids that are coming up that they're going to play with.
I think it's important too to state that, like, as you mentioned, like, what could white employees or white people do, is also make sure that you're letting your kids, if as a white mom, I make sure that my kid plays at the academy and in the RBI. My kid's here at the Commissioner's Cup because I think it's important that he gets to play with kids that don't look like him. So I think as you're thinking about what you do with your own kids and how you engage, make sure that the only person and the only face they see isn't the same color as them. That's how we make everything better.
Great answer. Okay, we have another question.
Hi guys. Oh wow, this is really loud. Cece, I'm a huge fan. So quick question. I know you guys said that you guys played multiple sports growing up. At what age did you realize that baseball was it for you?
For me, I mean, I think when I got drafted. I mean, I had my heart set on going to college. I was a football player, and I loved to play football. My circumstances were a little different. Obviously, it was me and my mom, and you know, we needed to pay the bills. I needed to make money, so I got drafted and I went to go play. I think, you know, baseball kind of picked me. You know, I played all three up until, you know, the game chose me. And even at that time when I got drafted, I'm on the phone with the Indians. I'm like, am I playing first base or am I pitching? So, you know, it was kind of just like the game just kind of, you know, chose the path for me.
What about you, Edwin?
Oh, man. I'm kind of with you, CC. Baseball chose me, man. I know a lot of people always ask, why did you choose baseball? You played football. I wasn't the greatest at basketball growing up. I played it, and that skill started to deteriorate as I got older. But football, I was still decent at. The game chose me. I was a receiver. We didn't throw the ball, so I was like, I'm going to baseball. And so the football gave me a reason. Football gave me a reason to really tune in all my focus to baseball. And from then, I took off. I didn't start until my senior year, so I wasn't the highly drafted. I wasn't the big prospect. I had 1 year to do everything, and in 1 year, I was All-State, All-By-City, Player of the Year, most home runs in the city, and I got drafted 6th round. I was going to black college baseball. That was my best offer until the end of the season. Then UAB came in, and then at that point, 26, you still young in the league. I go 6th round. 2001, I get drafted. 2003, I'm making my debut. First full season pitching.
And I think one of the things goes to the question we talked about before. Playing multiple sports helped us all. And we all played them for a long time. So even for me, I played basketball all the way through college. And then a broken thumb said, all right, well, I'm not going to play basketball anymore. Let me take advantage of my baseball scholarship. And then that took off. But all of that helped us get to the level where we are to be the best baseball player ultimately. And it was having that speed and agility that we learned in basketball, that strength from football, and the hand-eye coordination and discipline from baseball all came together to make us the best athlete out there.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys said that because I think there's a lot of pressure on young players today to specialize and play that year-round and don't play anything else.
But that's why you see so many injuries, so many young injuries, so many Tommy Johns, so many, like, we didn't pull hammies. Did you pull a hammy when you was young? Like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wasn't doing none of that because we were, you know, well-rounded athletes. So I think when you just start specializing and focusing on one thing, you lose athleticism quick.
And you wear them out. They get tired because when you do this professionally, you're doing it every day. So if you've been doing it every day since 4 or 5, and now you're doing it professionally every day, they get tired of the game.
All right, we have another question. Young man.
Hi, I'm over here.
Oh, you're over here?
Yeah. How you doing?
Okay.
2 questions. One for Cece and Edwin. For the future ball players out here, what advice briefly would you give them to like strengthen their arm strength or whatever, the future pitchers? And for Curtis, what advice would you give to the young hitters to try to keep up with the velocity or whatnot?
To be completely honest, I wouldn't give a young pitcher advice about building up arm strength. I would give him advice about throwing strikes. Throw strikes. Learn how to fill up the strike zone, and then you can add velocity later. You can add velocity at any time, but throwing strikes is the key. You can throw as hard as you want. You can't throw it over the plate. You're not going to be on the field. So I think the younger you are, these young pitchers, throw strikes, man. Throw the ball over the plate, and you can add velocity as you get older. But strike throwing is an ability.
Yeah, that's dope. For me, that's the question everybody get, how you throw hard. I mean, the first thing you do is get your body strong enough to play, period. Because when you don't have legs, you don't have anything. Whether you're a hitter, whether you're a pitcher, once your legs get weak, the rest is a wrap. So I threw hard God-givenly. That was God-given talent. I didn't do anything special. I wasn't the eye candy worker, but I definitely wasn't the lowest. I worked hard enough for my own body. You have to know your body because his program, my program, and his program are going to be 3 different programs, and we may be all trying to get to the same place. So you have to know yourself, know your body, and get your legs strong and be smart. You don't have to throw 5 different pitches at 16.
In terms of dealing with velocity and how to get used to it, just use what you have available. You don't have to buy machines. You don't have to find CC or Edwin to come and throw really hard, even though they can. But you're not going to find those individuals. But what you can do is if you have a coach that can toss you soft toss or toss you BP, shorten the distance. Now all of a sudden the distance turns into quicker reaction time, which plays like velocity. Anytime you can simulate it and just take advantage of what you have available for you. Just shorten the distance, stretch the distance out, bring it back in. That's a quick way to kind of get your practice against velocity without trying to find the machine or find individuals like this that throw 100.
Great advice. Okay, we have any? I think we have another. Yes, there you go. This gentleman here.
What was, hold on. So I have one question. What was the first thing that you purchased when you got your big check?
I bought a leather jacket. I'm from Chicago. It was cold. I saw this leather jacket on sale for $200. It was brown leather. I was doing it. I need to find it. I think my mom and dad still have it.
So the question for you guys who may not have heard is what was the first thing they purchased when they became a professional?
For me, it was a car. I never had a car, and I didn't have a lot of money. I wasn't a bonus baby, so once I bought that car, I was back on save mode already. I was like, I got one thing to get. I need a car, and the rest I could put it in the bank and let me stack it up a little bit more.
So what kind of car was it?
It was a Yukon. It wasn't even a Denali, just a regular Yukon, and I had 20s, no 22s. I had to graduate to the 22s. I had the 20s. And I had the little speakers in the back, and that was cool.
It's levels to this.
It's levels. I understood it was levels. My boy had a Denali. He threw a 3rd round. I'm like, all right, you can do that. Well, he had a Suburban. I was like, I got to get to this Yukon. I can't even get the plus. I get the basic, everything in there, and we're gonna be all right.
That's crazy. First thing I bought my mama Expedition. That was the first thing. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have Escalades at the time. That was the first thing I bought was an Expedition.
Don't ask me that. hey.
I walk.
All right, we have time for one final question. Where's the little kid? How about that little kid right in the back? Yes. He look like he ready to play center field right now.
How old were you guys when you hit your first home run?
My first
Great
home
question.
run over the fence, I was 12 years old. And it was cool because it happened on Mother's Day. So I got the ball and I gave it to my mom afterwards.
As a kid, I don't know. As a professional, I was probably 24. I mean, I was a pretty hitterish pitcher. I can hit a little bit. I can hit and I can run a little bit too.
Yeah, my first home run is as a kid over the fence. I think I was 7 years old.
7?
7?
Bro, I was like this
forget
big.
he was 6'2" at 7.
I was the same size I am now.
Oh, hold on. How old are you?
He's 8, yeah.
He's 8?
I was the same size at 8.
I was this size at 7 years. My mom used to have to travel with my birth certificate everywhere.
7 years old.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, listen, thank you all for being here, for engaging with us in this fireside chat. Please give a warm round of applause for all of our panelists. And most importantly, support the Players Alliance. Go to the website and figure out ways in your own respective communities that you can be involved and making sure that we have more youth, more black youth participating in baseball. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of All-Star.
We accept all amounts of donations.
Oh, yeah.
It don't matter
Give
if it's
some money,
$5,
too.
$10, whatever you can give.